Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're taking a deep dive into UI and DOM coding challenges.
Oh, yeah.
The kind that can really make or break you in a tech interview.
Especially at like Meta or Google, right?
Exactly. Those big companies. And, it seems like you're prepping for these kinds of interviews. So,
Yeah, we got a ton of good stuff for you.
yeah, we really curated this just for you.
Absolutely.
So just picture yourself in the hot seat.
Oh, yeah.
And the interviewer says, all right, build a counter button right here, right now.
You got it.
So think fast, clean code. Got to explain your choices like a pro.
For sure. And mastering these little coding challenges can really open up a whole world of front-end possibilities.
Absolutely. And, to help us out with this, we've got an expert on board.
That's me.
Who knows front-end development inside and out,
That's right.
and especially what those top tech companies are looking for.
Yeah, and those skills are so important at a place like Google or Meta because user experience is king, right? Everything they do relies on that smooth and engaging user interface.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you can nail these UI and DOM challenges,
Yeah?
you're showing them you can build the stuff that powers their products.
You got it. It's a direct line to impressing those interviewers.
Nice.
Our source material actually goes through 10 common UI and DOM interview questions,
Okay.
and it covers a huge range of challenges.
Wow.
Everything from basic DOM manipulation to building those more complex interactive components.
Okay, before we get into the code, I want to take a step back.
Yeah, sure.
Big picture.
Okay.
Why are these UI and DOM skills so important, like in the whole tech landscape?
Well, like I said, user experience is everything, especially at companies like Google and Meta. They live and die by their interactive web applications.
Right.
Their whole business model often depends on creating a seamless and engaging user experience.
So if you can show them that you really get UI and DOM principles,
Yeah.
you're saying, hey, I can build that for you.
Exactly. You're basically proving you can build those user experiences.
So it's more than just writing the code.
Right.
It's about how that code impacts what the user actually sees and feels.
That's it. And that's what these interview challenges are designed to figure out.
Okay.
Can you write the code, but more importantly, do you understand the principles behind it?
Okay, makes sense. Now I see we've got these 10 common UI and DOM questions.
Yeah.
We're not going to go through all of them, but
Yeah.
just to give us an idea, what kinds of problems do they usually cover?
So we'll see a real mix of everything.
Okay.
From really basic DOM manipulation, like adding or removing elements on a page,
Sure.
all the way to like building interactive components, handling real-time updates from a server,
Wow.
even optimizing for performance.
Okay, so it really is the whole gamut.
It is.
All right, so this is where things start to get interesting.
Okay.
I'm looking at one of the examples here called the counter button.
Right.
It seems simple enough on the surface, but I'm sure it's trickier than it looks.
Oh, there's always more to it than meets the eye, and that's what makes this challenge so great.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but it really tests you on managing application state handling events like clicks and updating the UI on the fly.
So it's like a whole little front-end project
Yeah,
packed into one task, just
exactly.
so we're clear.
Yeah,
The goal is to build a button that ups the counter every time you click it,
you got it.
and then it resets back to 0 when it hits 10.
Exactly. And they even give you some starter JavaScript to get you going.
Okay.
And what's really neat is they use this class-based approach, which is really common for building UI components these days.
Right.
It keeps things organized and makes your code much easier to manage.
So I'm saying they've defined a counter class
Mm-hmm.
with a constructor to set everything up, and then they have methods for attaching event listeners
Right.
and a render function to show the counter on the page.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're using data component attributes in the HTML to connect it all.
Uh-huh.
I remember when I was first learning, I just used classes for everything,
Oh, yeah.
and it was a mess.
It gets messy fast.
So using these data component attributes is more semantic and cleaner.
Exactly. It's a great way to keep your HTML clean and meaningful and avoid those nasty class name conflicts.
Right.
Especially as your project grows.
Yeah, you don't want that.
And it makes your code much more maintainable in the long run, and it shows the interviewer that you care about structure and clarity,
Okay.
which they definitely like to see.
Okay, so clean and organized code is important.
Yeah.
What else can we learn from this counter button example?
Well, one of the big things here is this idea of separating concerns.
Okay.
You have your state, which is like the data that makes your component tick. In this case, it's the counter value.
Right.
Then you have your render function, which takes that state and uses it to show the counter on the page.
Okay.
And then you have your event handlers, which listen for things like button clicks and update the state accordingly.
Okay.
So keeping those three things separate.
State, render, and events.
Yeah, exactly. It makes your code much more organized and way easier to understand and debug.
Yeah, you don't want to be stuck trying to untangle everything, especially in an interview.
Oh, no, especially under pressure.
Exactly.
Well-structured, clean code shows that you understand how to build UI components in a way that can scale and be maintained.
It's like building a house on a solid foundation.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Everything else depends on it.
Exactly.
So now I'm thinking about all these other UI challenges.
Yeah.
We've got the dynamic to-do list and the tab navigation system. Are those based on the same principles?
Absolutely. While the specifics might change, they all rely on these same core ideas. Using JavaScript to change the structure of the web page, that's the DOM, responding to user actions like clicks and keystrokes, and updating the UI in real time to give that smooth, interactive experience.
It's like they're all variations on the same theme.
That's a great way to put it.
Just testing different ways to apply the same fundamental principles.
You got it.
It's like they're little puzzles with unique pieces, but they all fit together to make a bigger picture.
Exactly. And mastering those individual pieces is how you solve those bigger, more complex challenges you'll see in real development.
Right.
But it's not just about writing code that works.
Oh, really?
There's another layer here that's just as important, and that's communication.
Communication. Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people forget about this. They're so focused on making the code work. They don't explain their thought process to the interviewer.
But that's important too.
It's so important because it shows that you can solve problems and explain your thinking clearly.
So it's like thinking out loud as you code.
Exactly. You're letting the interviewers see how you break down the problem.
Okay.
What steps you're taking and why you're making the decisions you're making.
Like you're giving them a window into your brain.
Exactly.
As you're solving it.
Yeah, you're having a conversation with them, bouncing ideas off each other, and showing that you can think critically and communicate well.
Okay, so clear communication is key.
Yeah.
What about these other UI and DOM topics?
Right.
Like accessibility testing, debugging.
Right.
Our source mentions those too. Are they important in an interview?
Absolutely. You might not have to write code for them.
Okay.
But understanding those concepts shows you have a holistic view of front-end development.
Right.
Accessibility is about making sure everyone can use your web application, regardless of their abilities.
Makes sense.
Testing helps catch errors early and make sure your code is solid.
Okay.
And debugging, well, that's just essential for finding and fixing problems.
Of course.
These are all part of professional front-end development, and interviewers will be impressed if you know your stuff.
Wow. There's a lot more to these challenges than I thought.
Yeah, right.
It's not just about knowing syntax or getting the code to work, but demonstrating a deeper understanding of these front-end principles and best practices.
You got it. It's about showing off your problem solving, your communication skills, and your passion for building great user experiences. Right? Like, who wouldn't want to create those smooth interfaces that people love?
Exactly.
Okay, so I got to ask, what are those interviewers at Meta and Google really looking for?
Okay.
Is it perfect code, or is there something more?
Well, clean and efficient code is good.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing.
Okay.
They want to see critical thinking, breaking down problems, and communicating well.
Makes sense.
They're also looking for soft skills.
Oh, like what? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, they build world-class products, and they're always pushing the boundaries. So they need people who can adapt, learn fast, and who are passionate about solving hard problems.
So they don't want just code monkeys.
No, they want people who will contribute to their culture of innovation.
So you need to be a well-rounded developer, not just a coding machine.
That's it. And that's what we're going to explore more as we continue this deep dive.
Okay.
We'll break down those core UI and DOM concepts, look at problem-solving strategies, and talk about how to nail that communication piece in your interview. This is all so helpful. I'm getting a much clearer idea of how to ace these challenges.
And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much to learn about front-end development, but understanding these fundamentals will give you a massive advantage.
Okay, let's take a quick break and come back for part 2, where we'll dive deeper into those UI and DOM concepts.
Sounds good.
Start getting a bit more technical. See you soon.
See ya!